How's it going, guys? I'm Connor from Running Warehouse, and I'm here with Brett. He's the man who oversees all the Nike footwear. And today, we've got an update to maybe the OG Zoom X trail shoe. We've got the Nike Zegama 2. Now, Brett, tell us about the inspiration for this shoe, how we got from version 1 to the latest version.
Yeah, I think backing up, I think one of the benefits we have at Nike Running is we serve runners of all different types, every kind of run you're going to go on. So we can look at different shared problems that we're solving for runners and say, is there a technology or a technique that we have in a different place that could serve other runners? So as we started to think about trail and tackling longer distances, more rugged terrain, we said those athletes need lightweight, they need great protection, need great propulsion. Sounded a lot like what we're hearing from our marathon athletes. So we use Zoom X as one of the ingredients to help solve that. How could we make that right for the trail? And that was really the inspiration behind the Zegama as a franchise. So we took Zoom X foam. If you imagine like a boat, we took a boat of SR foam, packed a bunch of Zoom X in there, allowed for the vertical compression of Zoom X to really be celebrated while adding some stability and some protection with that firmer foam. Runners loved that. But we also heard pretty loud and clear, hey, your traction, if you want to say this is the greatest shoe for long distances rugged terrain, it needs to be better. So that really led us to partnering with Vibram. We're the best in cushioning, they're the best in traction, let's partner together. And it was a really great partnership. They came to campus, their designers and engineers sat with our designers and engineers, listened to each other's points of expertise, and landed a really great outsole that, one, obviously provides incredible grip and traction, but also complements the transition and cushioning of the shoe to basically deliver the ultimate experience.
Now let's talk a little bit more about the midsole. Last version, again, it had that carrier foam that almost acts like a bathtub to encapsulate that Zoom X foam. Why do you go with that design, and how important is that when you don't have a plate in the shoe?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So one, we think about shoes almost like cooking. You got to have the right ingredients, but how you use them and what proportion and what layup really matters to the ultimate taste of the meal and the ride of the shoe. So if you just deliver a straight chunk of Zoom X foam, you basically have the Invincible, which feels great on the roads, it feels great in straight line. On a lot of different crazy surfaces, it doesn't feel quite as stable. So we needed to make sure that we were getting the magic of Zoom X and delivering that on the trails, but also making sure we addressed instability, and the foam can pick a little bit. So we needed to make sure the sharp edges of rocks and anything else you could see in the trail weren't going to harm the midsole. That's really what led us to that bathtub configuration. We tried a lot of different foams and a lot of different layups to make sure that it was not robbing the magic of Zoom X, but still solving those problems of stability and protection.
And the Zegama was always known as a very highly cushioned trail shoe, but it looks like we maybe even have a little bit more stack in the shoe. Is that true?
There's slightly more stack. It's basically going to be a very similar underfoot experience. I think the two improvements are stability, based on a little bit of midsole geometry improvements, and then of course the traction.
With the Vibram rubber, obviously that's going to give that bite. How much more well-suited is this shoe for the really technical terrain? Because when we look back at Zegama, it was good, but if you got it on the most muddy of terrain, maybe it didn't quite have that bite.
Yeah, it's a great point. So this is our most tested trail shoe to date. So we've put over 35,000 miles worth of testing. We've also widened out our aperture to get it on runners in Europe and in other places where you're going to find, to your point, all those extreme conditions to make sure it held up. We can do all the lab testing we want, say it's this much more, this much better, but the real most important nod and stamp of approval came from those athletes, and you can see some of the pictures here where they took it, them saying, yeah, actually this held up, this does well for me. At the elite levels of the sport, going 50, 100 miles, as well as people who are just heading out to get their casual trail runs in.
Now we've seen Ultrafly take off in the marathon side, did very well podiuming at Western States. Where's this shoe going to fit in? Will we still see this for some ultramarathon racing?
Yeah, I think you will. Some of it's going to be a personal preference. It's not plated, and as you know, it can be polarizing for runners, especially on the trail. Like plated is still, we're figuring out how to do that best on the trail. I think the comp I would use, if you're familiar with road shoes, if you have the Ultrafly, that's more like a Vaporfly for the trail. And this is more like an Invincible. So you're still going to find people who want to run a marathon in Invincible. It provides you a lot of great features, but not that plated, more rigid feel. So I definitely think you'll see runners taking this out on 50 to 100 mile plus races. But the Ultrafly is still going to fill a very important need for those who want that, more propulsive, more tuned suspension in the Ultrafly.
I mean, this shoe is known for the comfort, and I think the last piece of it is that upper, really keep you contained, but the materials looking pretty breathable as well.
Yeah, it's breathable, drainable. We know if you're taking it on those crazy places where you're gonna need the traction, you're also gonna run into a wet environment. And we wanna make sure anything that gets in can get out. And in the heat of the summer, you're able to stay cool. So very big focus on breathability. And also, I think both comfort and security are at a premium when you think about the neoprene gaiter in the heel. So really great, comfortable lockdown, not gonna let anything in, but also gives that nice, secure hug to your Achilles.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Zegama went from a very good trail shoe to now with some of these updates, I think a great trail shoe. For trail runners looking to get on their feet, when can they have it?
So we're looking at a May release of the Zegama 2.
Perfect. Well, if you are at home and looking to try out the Nike Zegama 2 for yourself, you can find it here at Running Warehouse.